If you're a new teacher like me, you might not have had this explained to you. In case you might not understand what TEKS are, I'm just going to go ahead and give you a video summarizing what it is and how you should be approaching it. Now, if you simply look it up, I finally kind of like this description. This site will provide you with information on the essential TEKS's essential knowledge and skills, TEKS, which are the state standards for what students should know and be able to do. Now, that is very concise, and honestly, the whole thing of what we have to understand. If you're curious as to how teaks are valued or what they are, you may or may not have already seen this image. This kind of explains or kind of gives you a idea of how often you are seeing a certain thing being placed in your test. So for example, I'm generally going to look at math teaks, but for example, you get to see here what the teak exactly is, and then you see the number or the label, right? The student expectations, and then you get to see how often it's tested. You might have seen this, or you might have seen this. This shows the readiness standards and the supporting standards. If that makes no sense to you at all, don't worry. I'm still going to explain it, so just follow along. Right here, if you're curious as to how to get to this, you can go ahead and look up leadforward.com. And then as soon as you do that, go ahead and go to resources, go ahead and click on data tools right here. And then after you do so, you can either click on math 2017 to 2024, math 2017. It gives you different charts to be able to look at. But let's go ahead and go on my presentation that I'm really excited about, by the way. So right here, we're looking at the features and capabilities of what TEKS are. So communication, why do we do this? So this allows you teachers to specify what outcomes they want out of students. It also helps with messaging. Students understand the objectives if TEKS are written out. So if you present something on the whiteboard or have it on the projector, it's a lot easier for the students to understand what it is that their objective is to understand while they're in that class. Reports and grades. Now, reports and grades, we're thinking about every standard has a rate of how often it is tested. That is how much a school grade level will value learning that standard. Outside of school, some TEKS will not be tested but will be required outside of school. So, for example, do understand that taxes and credit cards and whatnot are not in the test a lot of the times, but it's something that are standards for the students to learn. So if you've ever been curious, hey, are students supposed to learn this before they leave school? Yes, they are, but it's not a tested subject, not necessarily a tested subject, but it's not a tested TEK. So teachers are not valued to be teaching that subject, whether it be the credit cards or whatnot, because it's not going to be tested. Something else. Let's go ahead and think about what an example of a TEK. I don't know if you've seen this. So this is an example question of a STAR test question. This came out in 2021. This is for a third grader. Notice how many things I underlined and circled. Right here, you're seeing 3.2a. This is, again, a third grade TEK, something that the third grader is expected to learn. You see right here, everything that I put in red is an action word. Everything that I put in black is either an object, an item, a thing, something that is a value even. So right here, I said compose and decompose numbers up to 100,000 as a sum of so many 10,000s, so many thousands, so many hundreds, so many tens, and so many ones using objects, pictorial models, and numbers, including expanded notations as appropriate. All of that is the TEK, but no, read the question. An expression is shown 70 plus 2 plus 900. One number is equivalent to this expression. It is so simple, yet notice how long the standard is, because the standard wants to encapsulate everything of what this question is or what this question can be, what it can be written to be at. So that's why the standards are written out in that way. You see right here that the hundreds, the tens, and the thousands are there. You're also incorporating things such as the notations and whatnot. So here's something to think about why we're using TEKS or how they can be written, but they can be such a simple question. Now, something I think a lot of people do not acknowledge is while the standards may be easy to a teacher, a student will usually struggle to understand a standard if they do not understand the supporting aspects of it. In other words, you cannot run until you learn to walk. A standard is something that usually has a lot of value. So if we go back right here, the standards are going to be, the rating standards are going to be commonly tested. So right here you see high values 11, 10, 10, 12, 11. By comparison, over here you only see 3, 4, 2, 2, 1. So a lot of times teachers kind of want to skip over the aspect of teaching the supporting standard because they think it has no value. But I'm telling you, your student will not understand how to do this readiness teak if they do not understand how to do the supporting teak. You have to explain the supporting teak and they will be able to understand. Let's go back to this presentation. As an example, 6.7D, generate equivalent expressions using the purport properties of, I don't know if that's spelled of operations, inverse, identity, commutative, associative, and distributive properties. Man, I am fumbling here. 6.7C, determine if two expressions are equivalent using concrete models, pictorial models, and algebraic representations. So that's going to be your supporting, right? Notice how simple the supporting teak is. It is super basic because it's the very base of what the standard is going to be. Usually standards are going to have a lot of supporting teaks supporting them. We can go ahead and go back to this one as an example. Right here, you'll usually see everything that's in black is a supporting teak, and those that are in green are the readiness teaks. Notice that the readiness teaks are a lot smaller in quantity, but right here, as an example, notice how many supporting teaks are put into this example right here with a 3.6C being a smaller one. Now, if you're curious, how do you go ahead and check out the questions? You can go ahead and go to Lead Forward IQ. Once you go ahead and do so, you can go ahead and look up any question at any year that it was ever been tested. So if I'm very curious, okay, well, I'm not sure. I'm going to go ahead and go to math. Let's go ahead and go to 7th grade. I want to know what my 7th grade students will see on the test. I usually go ahead and just click TEKS subcluster. Right here, it'll give you everything that is the topic. I'm going to just go ahead and click select all. Usually you won't necessarily go based off topic, but you'll go based off teak. Based off the teak that you are teaching, you want to go ahead and make sure that the teak that you are teaching is the way that the state wants you to teach it. It's not how you want to teach it. It's not how whoever is telling you to teach it. It's how the state wants to teach it. The state is the absolute in this case. You just have to do what they tell you. It's not up to you. It's not up to the students. It's not up to admin. It's up to the state to decide what you're going to learn. Once you do so, you'll be able to see questions for the students that you're able to give to the students so that you can go ahead and tell them what it is that they're learning. Usually you can use these as practice questions. Depending on the year, I usually the who's ever in charge of you, your manager or whatnot, will tell you, hey, go ahead and give the students questions from 2019 to 2022 or whatever. And I'm going to go ahead and give them questions from 2024 or the most recent year, for example. So if those are available to the admin or the managers or whatever, they're usually going to go ahead and give you the most recent questions as the test questions per unit, but you can go ahead and give your students practice problems of 2018, 2017, and whatnot, and you can go ahead and see at what level your students are at. Not only that, you can also see how they compare to students state level. You can go ahead and see the data analysis right here on Lead Forward. How many students got it right? How many students got it wrong? How many times they picked the wrong choice? Usually when you do so, you want to acknowledge why they're making those mistakes. So when you look at these statistics, before you provide these questions to your students, make sure to ask yourself rather, why would the students select C as an answer choice instead of D? You'll usually do this if you have a mentor or someone managing you, but if you do not have someone helping you out actively, I'm telling you that will help out a lot as you can instantly and quickly see what mistakes the students are likely to make without you having to explain it to them. Past that, that is what TEKS are. As a whole, you really just want to understand what is the standard and what is required of you to teach. So just make sure that that's what you're thinking about as you're teaching. Thank you and have a nice day. Like, subscribe, as I appreciate each and every single one of you.